Born in 1509, Henry VIII is probably one of the best known, if not most infamous, of all monarchs. Physically commanding at 6 feet tall, strong, and aggressive, Henry as a young man would have been a prime quarterback material. Henry became king after the death of his brother Arthur, and took his sibling's widow, Catherine of Aragon, as his own wife. In Tudor England, it was considered important that kings had male heir, something that Henry's wife, Catherine of Aragon, couldn't give to him. Instead, Catherine had several stillborns, many miscarriages, one son that would die weeks after his birth, and Princess Mary, who would live into adulthood. Single-minded in his quest for a male heir, he separated from the devoutly Catholic Catherine of Aragon and married Anne Boleyn in 1533. Anne Boleyn was like the rest of Henry's mistresses. He wouldn't have gone through the whole trouble of breaking with the Catholic Church. But Anne was everything but. She was vivacious, she was beautiful, she was brilliant. Every man at court wanted Anne, and including Henry. And Anne knew that. Henry also established himself as the head of the Church of England, and thus seized the Church's lands and wealth. Unfortunately, Henry and Anne did not have a happy marriage. When Anne Boleyn produced not a son, but a daughter, Elizabeth, Henry began to set in motion the accusations of treachery and adultery that would eventually result in Anne's execution and Elizabeth's exile from court. Anne Boleyn's situation, Henry thought, why not try someone a little milder, a little more obedient, someone the complete opposite of Anne? Henry's third wife, Jane Seymour, did provide him with what he most desired, a son. But Henry's happiness was clouded when, unfortunately, Jane died after complications from the birth. Henry's next marital mishap was with Anne of Cleves, who he agreed to wed under the influence of Thomas Cromwell, who sought a speedy transition of the country to a Protestant faith. Henry VIII didn't like Anne of Cleves. He thought she was ugly, she couldn't speak English very well. Some say that the marriage wasn't even consummated. Once the marriage to Anne of Cleves was annulled, Henry married his fifth wife, Catherine Howard, but she too would be accused of adultery and executed. Now overweight, gluttonous, and plagued with syphilis, Henry entered a final, more harmonious marriage with Catherine Parr, which endured until his death in 1547. During his reign, Henry VIII had turned the religious order upside down, emptied the country's coffers in fruitless wars with France and Scotland, and brutally crushed dissent wherever and whenever it arose. In the end, Henry, who had sought for most of his life to provide the heir he believed would bring stability and continuity to his country after his death, instead gifted England with the beginning of one of the bloodiest chapters in its history. But Henry did stabilize England through his child. It was not Edward, the son he craved, who died 6 years after taking the crown, or Mary, who would die from a tumor after 5 years of being queen. No, it would be Elizabeth, the fiery, red-headed daughter of Anne Boleyn, who would triumph in the end.